Chris, Jeffrey, thank you so much for being here. Like, I think a long time coming, and I'm so glad that I met you a couple days ago, and you were like, you jumped on board. Like, this is a doer mentality.
Absolutely. Just get it done.
Get
At
it done.
speed. That's it. Most people overthink stuff and then they end up not doing it.
Right?
Best way.
I would like to kick it off the bat with a question for the both of you. The one question is that I wanted to ask you is, what is the best advice that you had given to you recently, and have you implemented it?
I'm happy to start.
Go
I think that I'm pretty sure we all know, but JT says speed of implementation, right? So came back from mega success where we were at Bruno, and I had these ideas in my head about implementing a CRM and some AI things, and pretty much as soon as I landed, I made meetings, and I had one at 3:00 this morning.
Wow.
About implementing an AI to do my job.
That's
I think it's important to act straight away.
Absolutely. We spoke about that at the start, and automations are all about what I do and making sure I can travel the world, love life.
Yeah.
We all want to do what we want to do. I've got a saying, do what you want, when you want, with who you want, as much as you want. And that's what I live by. So I want to enjoy life and to do it on automation. And the one thing I learned from JT as an example, and it sounds so simple, ask questions. Because if we won't ask the question, I'm not going to ask that question, I'll look stupid, or, I don't want to make sure they think I'm not smart enough or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Just get past that. Be vulnerable. We don't know everything. That's the reality.
Yeah.
And we just got to be a champion of being a beginner.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, I don't know that. What do you mean by that? Or Bruno. And that takes you to a different level of life and a different circle. And that different circle for us is no doubt elevating our lives. Putting us together in this room, we were just talking about a potential business idea. I've just met him.
I know.
And that's the type of conversations you can have at speed and just doing it without having a fear of, I'm not sure, do you do this? Could you do that? Would you like to do this? And you never know where it leads you.
But it's also the mindset, right? Like you talk to people, like the three of us, like we are part of a group, and we coach by the same coach. Like I feel like we do think a little differently, and we do implement, and we switched on that business mindset. But I'm sure that it wasn't always like this.
No way.
Yeah.
So
I want to know, because isn't it true? Because I can tell you my version of my story, and I'll make it very quick. I just want to open up to you guys, because we know each other, but I don't know if I told you a lot about me, and obviously we just met.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just want you to know, open up a little bit, put down the walls, and for me, one of the, I wasn't always this man that I am today. So I think the big change happened for me when I was in my early 30s, probably 30, 31.
Yeah.
And up to then, I kept on blaming my upbringing for all I was.
Absolutely.
Kept on blaming everything. I was like, if my parents did this, and if I had the chance, and it was a lot of everyone else's fault and none of my fault.
Absolutely.
And then when I was, I think, around 30, my life wasn't at my lowest, but what it was is that I felt like I wasn't achieving my potential. I felt like I was stuck. And the question was about why? Why can I not go pierce through that ceiling? And then I don't know what it is, and I can't tell you how it happened, but I started taking responsibility for what I was doing. And all of a sudden, everything changed. All of a sudden, it was me that, because I was leading the life that I was leading, that's why I was in that position. So I wasn't drinking, I wasn't partying, I wasn't doing any of that, but I was making coffee, I was traveling a lot. I was really just, life was happening to me.
Yep.
And I wasn't doing anything to make things happen.
Yeah.
I was just swayed by the wind. And I was worrying a lot about saving, quote unquote, people around me instead of saving myself.
Absolutely.
So that was me. And then, after a very painful journey, entrepreneurial journey. And what I mean by painful is really like a lot of like reading, a lot of self exploring and understanding that I had limitations and I needed to fix those limitations. Then I am here right now with amazing people like you guys. And at the same time, I still feel like I have so much ahead of me, but it's a positive feeling. I feel like
Love
I
that.
can't wait to go to my next stage.
Love that. And you said two things. One was the ceiling in life, our parents or those of value or the areas that we grew up in. The areas we grew up in, Mount Druitt and Redfern, you're not meant to make it out of the area. We should be in prison on drugs. So that was the badge of honor. For me, that was what ended up happening. I became a byproduct of that area, growing up in Redfern, 20 years in custody, bank robber by the end of it, and in and out 14 years ago into a global leadership business. So that ceiling, I had to realize at one point in time what you did. I was telling myself the bullshit that it happened to me, not for me.
What was the moment? Was there a moment?
It was the sum of all things, because everyone always says, when did it happen?
What did it
When I was in
happen?
custody, there was so many different stories along that journey. One was an education story. I probably wouldn't have done education in custody, but some kids from the area, private school kids who never got in trouble, but I knew them through football. They came into custody. They got me up to education, whereas they probably would never have gone into custody. They came in, come up to education. No, I'm not bothered. Those little simple things, come and do computers, come and do business, and I was doing these little things, micro things, and things were happening on that journey. And at the end of it, I started to realize what happened to me happened for me. What was a lesson that became a blessing out of every situation? And I started to see things differently because I was like the victim. Now I was starting to become the victor. So I changed that mentality, created better reality, and now life's just like, for me,
it is so tough though. Like you hear it all the time.
If you tell yourself it's tough, you'll make it tough.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say it's so tough for people that listen to us and they will listen. They'll say, this is your mentality. You can't think like that. Like, what's a good strategy that you could advise to anybody that's listening to change that mindset, like to get a little bit of a shift?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff I've done is innovative because I did it out of the journals of my own self. So what I wrote out, they became lessons that I now teach to others. But one thing is just look up the word dissonance and go and learn the different types of, and then you understand how you're built. And even then when you're reading it, what's going to happen is you're still going to disconnect, because what happens with dissonance, I can present the facts to you, and because you're built this way, your parents taught you, you say, no, I don't care what you present. This is what's right. And we see it all the time. And that's happened many a times in recent times where things happen, you could present the facts, but because we're so ingrained and our first pathway was created around this belief, you tell me and show me facts that differentiate from this truth, I'll still deny you. No, Bruno, it's okay, mate. What he's saying, my parents are wrong. So people, once you understand that, you can understand, hey, how I grew up and what I was taught was actually wrong. The simplest one for people to understand is when you're a kid, Santa Claus, and then as you get older, once you're wise enough, you then go, wait a second, what I was taught was bullshit. You've got to be able to do that through that word dissonance, have a look at the different types, and that'll just shift you out of who you are. And every single person on this planet, including me, have all been built with dissonance. Yeah. And until you're conscious of it, you'll always be unconscious of it, which means you say, I'm okay in life. I was okay locked up for 20 years. I did it standing on my head. He'll tell you, blokes from the area, we'll do it easy, no problem. But do you really want to be there? Give me the key, I'll walk out tomorrow. So what I told myself and what reality is two totally different things. Yeah. And that's dissonance. That's that space in between reality and the perceived truth.
What you guys are saying resonates with me as well, because I think it's very important to know that I too, at some point in my life, was the victim. You know, life is happening to me. I am just existing. I think I was 24 years old. I had first bought my house in Cullinan. I was hanging out with all my mates. A lot of the guys were doing the wrong thing, but I was just existing. I had my business, and it wasn't until for me, very, very much the mindset shift that you guys have said you had, was I started thinking, well, stop thinking about why is this happening to me, and what am I meant to learn from this?
Love that.
You know, that mindset of why me to, okay, what are you teaching me now?
Mm.
All right, what am I going to take from whatever's happening and you learn from and pivot and change my life? I mean, a big milestone in my life was moving from Collerton, Mount Druitt to Cronulla. You know, I packed up my stuff because I was lucky enough I didn't get caught up in anything. Hadn't been arrested, hadn't been caught up. A lot of my mates have been. A lot of them had done the wrong thing. I had a business with my father at a young age, had really great parents, went to a private school, but I was just around that environment, right? And I always had to make a choice. Well, if I go down the wrong path, what's going to happen to my parents? So that was what kept me on the straight and narrow. But the big pivoting point in my life was around that 30. I'm 39 years old now. I've been self-employed for 18 years, okay? I've had my own window company for 18 years. I've seen it all. I've been through a lot of things, and I'm still learning.
Yeah,
We never stop
100%.
learning, right? But the main thing is when you stop feeling sorry for yourself and you take drastic action, okay, to make a change, to make something better, that's when your life starts to go in a different direction.
We all focus on problems, not solutions. And that's the world. Oh, did you hear about Bruno? Did you hear about Chris? Yeah, like, just focus on yourself more than you focus on other people's problems. And I call it charge yourself more than you charge your phone, and watch happen. Watch what happens with your life.
Well, like out of the thing that Chris said, like I don't know if you heard something there, but you talked about environments, right?
Yeah.
So you both were coming from a tough environment, and you know, like obviously, because I know a little bit of your story. Do you mind sharing a little bit of
Anything, man.
what your environment was growing up?
Everleigh Street, Redfern, was one of the most notorious streets, and the parents were just as destructive as the street. And yeah, that was my role model. So what was I going to do? And then when I walked out the back door into the laneway, everyone was taking drugs, fighting. I always share this scene. It was like the Colosseum. There was two people fighting. Everyone was around. I looked across. Someone was taking drugs, injecting drugs. The kids were on the ground in front of them. Their cousin was holding their hand. I looked to the right. Other people were smoking drugs, and they're watching the fight. Other people on the other side were drinking. The music's loud, swearing, toxic behaviours, dysfunction. And I don't mean that bad towards my community, Aboriginal community. It's just how we were built at that time, trying to deal with what we felt had happened, not felt with what had happened.
Yeah.
And we were feeling that. So we didn't have the emotional regulation, which means you don't have the emotional intelligence to say, what's a strategy I can deal with my stress? And that's why, you know, people say, oh, Redfern was bad. You look around now with mental health, people don't know how to deal with it. They check out. So we were dealing with it the best way we thought: drugs, alcohol, crime, being around each other. Oh, how good's this? But, you know, if him and I were mates and I got locked up, he'd sleep with my partner, or vice versa. He got locked up, I'll sleep with why he's locked up. So there was no values, there was no morals, there was no beliefs. And that meant that my parents didn't give them to me. And my grandmother was the only sort of saving light in that community who said, go to school and just don't be like everybody else. And I'd say, oh, what's that mean? JT gave that example the other day. What's that mean? Oh, just keep going, you know. And the same, so she said, oh, just don't be like everybody else. And I said, what's that mean? And she goes, don't be like them. And I said, so what do you mean? Don't take drugs. What else? Don't go to jail. But I didn't know the steps to be able to do that. Yet society in general will judge you on that. And that's a tip for everybody. Instead of judging somebody, which means you have the solution because you're built that way, why don't you sit down, hey, Chris, you know, here's how you could be. Hey, Bruno, here's how you could be. Would that be of interest to you? Less stress for yourself, more money, more happiness. I don't know what it is for yourself. And that just creates a different world and a better place. And
when you talk about this, like what I hear about it is that, you know, you broke like a circle. You broke something that
huge.
it was meant to happen to you. You did the same, right?
Well, you have to break the cycle.
I feel
right?
like you broke the cycle
Absolutely.
too. And I, you know,
you as well.
I feel like I did.
Yeah.
Like I feel like you know, my parents were stuck into this. They still have, you know, like that same life the problems follow them, and and money doesn't make a difference. Honestly,
Absolutely.
like they will find themselves in some sort of trouble, right? And I feel like I was destined to that if I wouldn't remove myself from that situation. But
Absolutely.
what does it take to remove yourself from the situation? Because like circle breakers, but like you said that it was a big thing for you to move away from.
Of course.
How
No,
did
not
you
even
move
meant to
and
do
why?
that.
How did I move? I said, right, I need to change my life. Something big in my life happened and I had to make a decision.
What happened?
Oh, well, I got separated. I got divorced and I had to choose a path. If I stay on the left side, I'm going down to, like you said, you're going to be with the wrong people. You go to jail, you get killed, you get something happens. If I go on the right path, it's going to be a lot of work, but I'm going to make something of myself, And I think the biggest thing is when you grow up and you're with those people that you're with, it's normal.
Yeah.
And when you make that change, you feel isolated. I pretty much
Absolutely.
just packed up and I moved. And I felt like I was in a different country because my friends, I didn't say, hey, come and see me. No, because they're all staying in their area, right? And
So did you cut ties?
I didn't cut ties because, like people you grow up with, you love them. You might not agree with some of the things that they do, but you still have love for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to this day.
To the day, and you don't turn your back on them. If they ring you, you talk to them, and that's the family that you grow up in. But I just said, okay, I'm going to put my head down, bum up, and then I still woke up at 2:30 every morning to drive to work.
Wow.
So I still drove to St Mary's to my factory every day for 4 years. Every day I get up at 2 and I don't finish work till 6. That's even till today.
If you can do that, you can do anything.
But it's hard to break a cycle. You'd know yourself. We've only just met today, but from your story, what you're telling me is to break that institution, to break that cycle. It's not easy, man. And I congratulate you for
Thanks
that
for that.
because
I appreciate
I know
that.
how hard it was for me to break away from what I was used to, and that's nothing compared to that. But you need a strong mindset.
With the breakup, can I ask you this question, if you don't mind me? How you were built from the area that you didn't sort of get the most out of your marriage?
Look, I think it was a lot of factors.
Yeah.
I don't think it was just that, but I do think it was a very toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And now I look back, I'm extremely grateful for what's happened.
Yeah, learn a lot.
I've learned a lot and
Yeah.
I've changed. And what you
Love
were
that.
saying before, I want to become a better man.
That's
and
what I was trying to get at.
strive to every day now with my wife, my now wife, been with her for 4 years, and I've got a little 9-month-old son, and I try to make myself a better man every day. If I try to be kind to people, I've got a great culture in my business and my employees because I treat them like family and I respect everybody.
Love that.
And I think, people judge you from the way you look. I got covered in tattoos. I must be a criminal. I'm a bike.
Yeah.
I'm none of that. And I never have been.
Yeah.
But what I do sleep easy at night, and I'm grateful for, is I'll go and do random acts of kindness because it makes me feel good.
Love that.
And it's so important to have great people in this world, and that's one thing that I wanted to be. I wanted to change.
Love
I wanted
that.
to change the man I was, and every day work on the man I want to become.
Wow.
Random acts.
Wow.
I love walking past the machine and an old lady's and just pulling the phone out and tapping and keep walking.
Yeah.
And so and I'm like, don't even
all right.
stop I just keep going.
Yeah.
And it's just, I wish I had people, that did the right thing for the right reasons, whether it's protecting women, talking nicely to anybody in society respectfully, helping our elders or something. So those random acts of kindness. But going back to the change, you got to get good, and this is what I call a multi-dimensional thought. You got to get good at disappointing people. And people are like, what do you mean? I'm not going to. So I say, would you disappoint your family? And they're like, no, I won't do that. And if I ask that question, most people say, no way. I'm not going to do that. But what it does mean, it means you got to say no to them and yes to yourself.
Wow.
And that means that you just go, you know what? I want to be a better man. And if I don't do this, the next partner I get, guess what I'm going to do? Repeat the same cycle.
Yeah.
Or same thing. I want to be a better father. If I don't say no to you. So 1991, I moved out of Everleigh Street, Redfern. The whole community, saying everything and anything about me. this, that, and the other. And you've got to wear that tough skin and know your journey and what it was about. And no one knew what I did it for. I just got sick of my own bullshit. And I had to say, I started getting good at saying no to them and yes to me. And we all know how that worked out. So
getting good at saying no, I think it's a massive thing, because I think most of us, most of the people that listen to us as well, like they have a very tough saying no to people, and I do too.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a big lesson. So like that is a massive thing to be able to say no. It's massive.
If it costs you mental health, it costs too much.
Yeah. And then the other thing that you guys were talking about, so like, you know, you called it random act of kindness. Yeah.
Beautiful.
As you were talking about it, I was like, I actually call that just being a gentleman.
Of course.
So
we lost that. Do you reckon we lost that?
I don't know. Like, I mean, like I grew up in Italy, right? So like I grew up in Italy, and ever since I was very little, my parents, if there's one thing that they did, it is this constant push around being a gentleman.
Absolutely.
It was like a constant thing that was ringing in my ears every day. And it was like, you know, gentlemen, you treat women with respect, you open the doors, you listen to the elderly, like the best thing that you need to do. And I think, because obviously like I'm Italian, came to Australia, look at that as being an Italian gentleman. But I think it's incredible like to hear that in your perspective, that's what it is, like random act of kindness.
Well, I think being a gent, to me, my take, look, my parents are both from Holland as well, so that resonates with me about, you know, Italian, being a gentleman. Well, I guess what I'm getting a bit, there's being a gentleman to women and treating them with respect, but then there's also just being a kind human. And I kind of put down those random acts of kindness of just being a good human. There's a lot of bad people in this world, you know, and I call it good karma. And I think that's one thing that's helped me in my life get to where I am. Like people don't, and I think we've spoken about it before, people don't see your struggles.
No.
They see your success, but they don't know how much you had to fight and claw and cry and sweat for it and bleed for it. You know, just doing random kind things for strangers. That really makes me happy as a human.
Do you consider that the random kind of act of kindness, or being a gentleman in my case, do you consider that it's a question of habits?
Definitely role modeled.
Personality?
And I'll ask you both this question because I was thinking about it. When was the last time you had a conversation with gentlemen or male friends where you said, let's be a gentleman, or what's a gentleman, or how do you act in that sense? I haven't done it. I don't think.
Well, there you go. We're doing it right now.
Yeah, and maybe employ everyone out there. Go and have that conversation. What's it mean?
For me?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like,
all right. So for me, being a gentleman is responsibility. When I speak about responsibility, I speak about being responsible for, you know, and kind to your fellow men and neighbor women.
Yeah.
So responsibility. Number 2 is being and responsibility to yourself, like to uphold yourself to your best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Then I see kindness. Yeah. So whenever I speak about kindness, I mean probably those gestures like, you know, make your bed, clear up the table, you know, carry the heavy thing for your partner, like simple things stuff. Like that, simple things. Or like the good morning, the good night. In Italy, we also say buon appetito, which is like when we eat. And then I'm going to add a third thing for me because it's part of my personality. And it is being a gentleman means for me presenting yourself at your best. When I mean presenting yourself, I mean, I do literally mean like wearing clothes and having an image that supports what you stand for. Like what kind of man you want to be presented as. So for me, in my personal experience, when I don't present the way I do, and this was like years ago, especially when I came to Australia, people wouldn't respect me as much because they couldn't see past the singlet, or they couldn't see past the shorts. And the moment that I present myself in the way that I do, like I got like I am me, but to like the next level. Like I feel like powerful, strong, and confident.
that.
And for me, so that's is the three things is kindness, responsibility, and presenting yourself for your very best.
Love that.
How about yourself?
The characteristics of how you're built, I think, and so many elements.
Give me a version of it.
Loyalty is a huge one. I
Wow.
think it's gone a lot in society.
Yeah.
And just talking, loyalty doesn't just mean to your partner, but also to what's right. Like if we see something happening, call it out. But also, then my advice to everybody, instead of saying, "Hey, Chris, you're a dirtbag" or whatever it is, say, "How can I sit and help and role model him?" And instead of pointing a finger, blaming him,
Throwing stones.
understand why he's built like that and how we can help him make a better choice at the next opportunity. And if that's in a female sense in his business, that means you're loyal to what you see. I'm friends for what reason? Your company, or for the fact that I want to see you the best version of yourself.
And you have so many. Like
Absolutely.
I went on a sneak peek on the website. There was numbers like close to the
Crazy.
7 figures.
Yeah, crazy.
What pushed you to like really like help so many people, and for in the way that you do it? Because I mean, there's so many people out there that will just like
Absolutely.
say they will help people, but the way that you do it, like you can really tell that you care.
What it was, we didn't have it. I can guarantee. Like he said he had his parents, but in the area, he would have seen it. Like a lot of us just didn't have it, and sometimes we don't realize there's so many different pillars in life, and those pillars, when you build the characteristics around your relationships, financials, your wealth, your health, your happiness, your inner peace, these qualities of respect, values. What are your values as a man, right? As a gentleman. And once you understand that, 13 times last year, Bruno, I was standing in stores and random people like shop owners or service people would say, "Can I tell you something?" And I was like, "Yeah, go for gold. You're a very balanced gentleman." And I was like, "Okay, what made you say that?" That's how you dress, how you conduct yourself, how you spoke to me, how your build. They had all these elements. And I think when you look at a gentleman, you can be, I could handle myself if I had to in a back alley, but why do I need to do that? And that's a gentleman. How can you have that emotional intelligence? One side be the warrior of life, but also be take yourself away from worrying in life, and then also be the warrior on the other side of life where you step into the life that you want. Because we all talk about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to. Don't be a shoulda, coulda, woulda, gonna. A lot of people tell me.
The difference
be
is
a doer.
That you actually do the step.
Like you said, hey, you got time? Yeah. Oh, look, I've got time in between. Let's make it happen. And it just happened. And I think when you do that, I know when you do that, the more you do one thing repetitively, the stronger you get, right?
Yeah.
So if I keep doing that, whereas if I say, "Hey, Chris, I'll show up at this time," or "I'll meet you here," and then I don't show up, I don't even text him, I don't care, or whatever. And then I tell him, "Oh, we're friends, brothers for life, brother." Well, we're drinking alcohol. Are we really brothers for life?
As you're talking, I'm actually thinking about, you talked about loyalty. And for me, like I've seen that in our coach, right? Like is just because I've seen it. But then the next thing is you mentioned is you do it, but you do what you say you're going to do, right?
Your word should be your bond.
Like I had role models in my life and, like throughout my life. But I must say, this is the first time like that I see it in a person. This is JT Fox that I'm talking about. It's whatever he says that's going to do, it happens. So a gentleman, another thing is stick to his word. Like I love that. Your word is your bond. What's a gentleman for you, Chris?
Well, look, I think you've touched on a few of those too. Loyalty. That's a massive thing for me, being genuine and authentic. Huge. Those are huge. For me, a gentleman is real. I'm the kind of soul, but if we have to go to war tomorrow, I'm going to war for you and with you. I think another big thing too that I've learned in my life is a gentleman doesn't change. That's my definition of a gentleman. So I may be kind to people and they may do the wrong thing to me, But just because someone's burnt me doesn't mean I'm now going to change to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And staying real, the biggest word that I always throw around is real.
Yeah.
All my mates know, my friends know.
I know.
I don't change.
Like Chris and I met like a couple months ago, something like that, and Chris was like super kind over the phone, right?
Yeah.
Like
Nice.
he gave me a call. It was unexpected. I spoke to him, and I was like, wow, like, you know, of course, like I'll come and meet you, and you know, we caught up and we made a cool outfits for that beautiful event that we went together. Did you feel good?
I felt great. I don't wear suits.
No,
I hate suits.
I'm
the
not a
only
suit
time I
man.
wore suits back in the day was to court.
So you know, like we met like this, and the one thing I wanted to tell you is that to me, from day zero, you were a perfect gentleman.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I was just blown away by that. Then we met while I was measuring you up for your suit.
Yeah.
I was asking you about your journey.
Yeah.
And the other thing that blew me up, it was your dedication to your business.
Yeah.
So like you've done so much, 19 years with his father. So like
2
this
a.m.
is a
starts.
second generation. How, like after so long, and I know that after so long you are right now talking about innovation, you're the best in the market at doing specific things. What drives you? Like what, after so long, it feels like you just started yesterday.
Yeah. Well, look, like you said before, when you're in your 30s, you kind of were a bit stagnant, right? So after I had that big moment in my life, I kind of lost my why. So I was just living again, right?
Yeah.
Like it didn't bother me if I lived or died. You know, I'm not afraid of that. And then I met my wife, and she then helped me find my why again. And now my why getting up every day is, you know, my kids, my wife. And I'm passionate about what I do, and you know, it's in my blood. I've been doing it for so long. I've learned it from my dad. But it wouldn't matter. I always say about being real, and it wouldn't matter if I had $10 million in the bank. I'm still the same bloke that came from Mount Druitt. That's a hardworking, honest, loyal, genuine bloke, and I will not change. And money will not do anything to me to change me.
Love that.
You know, and that's why I still love doing the right thing by everybody, and I'll continue to. But what really drives me now is my team. I've built such a great culture in my business. And I keep telling my staff, look, every time I make a decision and I say I want to do this, and I come back from mega success and I said I'm going to implement this, and they're like, oh, this could really blow up for you. And I'm like, no, not me, us. You know, I'm not making these decisions for me. And, you know, I'm talking about making some big decisions in the business where we're all going to eat. Because I always have said, the company makes money. We all make money. It's not about my personal wealth. It's about everybody. I want people to come with me because it's lonely at the top. And the struggle to get to the top is also lonely. And if you're ready to get down and dirty with me, then I'm going to help build a table for all of us to eat.
Love that.
I feel like this is one more for the gentleman. It is being a leader. And,
Absolutely.
Giving the credit to the people that have brought you to where you are, right? Like that's incredible. How about yourself? You left a situation that was basically giving you a sentence, a life sentence,
pretty much,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you were incarcerated for so long. Then you turned it all around, but that was years ago, because that was like
14 years ago now.
Right?
Yes.
So that was, again, 14 years ago. That is a tremendous amount of time in the scheme of things. What's driving you now?
It's 16 years of age, walking out that back lane and remembering that that's how we're built. And the craziest thing you spoke about was I was in a prison, and then I realized that everyone's in a prison. And when I say that, your mind is your prison. People walk around as a prisoner of their own mindset about, you won't be able to do that, Chris. Bruno, stop dreaming. And if we're around someone like JT Fox or someone like myself, I'm going to tell you your dreams are valid. Go to Dubai. Dubai doesn't have to say anything, and your dreams are valid just by what you see and feel. So, you look at a dog and it makes you feel happy. It just comes up, throw the stick, throw the ball, whatever it is, and we get a feeling from that as an owner of a pet, right? So the same principle, when you go back to how we're built as individuals, not most of us, all of us have at some point of life gone down a path where we've been destroyed by somebody's opinion. Chris, you won't do that. You come from Mount Druitt. That doesn't happen there. Bruno, you're in a different country. You won't make it here. It's too hard. Just get yourself a job and you'll be right. Be a good kid. Maybe even our parents tell us that, or our loved one. And you've got to get past that and say, what do I actually want? And I'm not built the way I want to be. What do I need to learn from, and who do I need to learn from? And then I'm in that space, JT Fox, bump into 2 new people, connect with new people. And as you said, because you're isolated and lonely at one spot, I call it the abyss between the old me and the new me. And in between, you're just sort of traveling in this realm by yourself. And then you start to connect with people because you just let go. You just say, you know what? The judge's comments about you'll never amount to anything. Well, that's your opinion. You've got PTSD and clinical depression. Well, that's what you labelled me as. I didn't do that. I was training, I was fit, I was healthy, I was feeling $1 million, feeling like that dog with the stick. I was feeling great. So you're going to tell me PTSD, I knew I did. Is there some medication here? And as soon as I believe somebody else's thoughts of me, then I become a prisoner of my own mindset. And most of society's that. Yeah. Until you challenge that and say, all right, what was I told and why am I thinking that? Do I control you, Bruno? You should wear a black suit. Why are you wearing it? I don't control you. Yeah. And when you understand internal, you control it, external, Chris or yourself, then I don't, it's great if they give me something of value that I add and stack to my life. If not, your opinion's just like everybody else's.
Can I tell you guys, because obviously this is me, again, opening up. I won't name names because obviously, there's so many men and women that I look after. But one of the biggest things, as you're talking about prison, being prison of yourself, and you're talking about, this, you hear the voices. You hear the voices of everyone else that tell you that you won't be able to succeed. In my experience, everyone in whatever degree, they suffer from this mindset issue whenever they come to see me. So something as little as, like I said, I never said that I make suits. Literally, whenever somebody come to me, I was I'm gonna help you present yourself in the way that you want to be seen by people, by everyone around you, right? And sometimes when I have these conversations with a lot of these men and women, one of the things that comes up is it's not good enough for me, or I can't be that person. And sometimes it's even more sad. They'll say something, they'll discount it. They're like, but I don't need to look that. And it's almost like they accepted that that's all they are, 100%. Right? And instead, whenever they come to me, I would just talk to them and I'll say, why do you want to make the jump? What do you want to, what's pushing you to come and talk to somebody like me?
Absolutely.
And sometimes they'll open up. And all I hear is people that want to be seen. And when I talk about being seen, I mean, you go into a room and people, because not everybody's got this feeling. And probably you experienced it when you had your own change. But people don't come to you. Most people they don't attract. People they go to, people like to introduce themselves and to talk. But whenever they present themselves in the most powerful self, the most confident self, all of a sudden you have people coming to you. People, you attract
absolutely
power, you attract confidence, you attract success. And this is when, especially in networking events, we've been to Mega Success recently that was in Los Angeles, and you actually see it. Tell me that you didn't see it in the room. You see lions talking to lions,
absolutely,
and gazelles talking to gazelles,
absolutely.
And sometimes people, they tell me I'm a little bit harsh, but this is what it is, so visible. And I think that if you want to be a lion, if you want to talk to lions, at least you gotta look like a lion, because then
Absolutely.
you won't get the chance.
Absolutely. JT yesterday, when he got people to role play and he was getting to somebody, he's asking questions and he's eliciting answers. So I know what he's doing. That's how I operate. Same thing. So you're asking the questions, but what happens? The whole room, I could feel the whole room's energy change. Because they're like, oh, you're being nasty to this
Mean,
person.
yeah.
You're so mean. Well, what are we? We're there to change.
Sorry, I'm laughing because he got me a good one.
Oh, did he? There you go. He's changing. All right. So why did you come to JT? Because you're not doing what you need to do, and no one's told you in your circle what you need to hear. Which means I enable your behaviour. You're cheating on your partner. You're taking some drugs to deal with your emotions. Hey, how good's this, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah. High five
good
to you,
job.
to the other bloke. You got that blondie. You got that next girl. And it's a body count. Until someone actually has that conversation with you
and pulls you up.
But the whole room, 82, I think that was there yesterday, and of those 82 high performers, I felt like most of them went to a dark side. I felt the energy of the whole room, and I knew exactly what he was doing. Why? Because he doesn't want, and if people don't understand because they're dissonant. You're being nasty. So nasty people, let's block them out. And people's arms got crossed over. And then they got, even after or in the breaks, people were talking about it, and I could hear them focusing on the problem. When you focus on the problem, you become the problem. So for me, I just went. What he did was get you to see what was the enabling behaviors that are destroying your life. And hopefully they got to see that as well. But a lot of the times people are built because of the dissonance where they say, you're just going against all of my values and beliefs right now. So therefore I'm going to sit here and say JT's nasty.
But they all congregate together and say the same thing. And
did
you
I can't believe
this?
JT did that to him. And
I think I'll add that one more to gentlemen.
And I have to say JT really quickly that's a great coach.
Yeah.
Because they're changing you.
I was going to say the next thing for a gentleman, it is to accept feedback.
Of course.
Take
100%.
responsibility and speed up implementation. Change
100%.
everything.
Look, he gave it to me at one of the events, and what you're saying here, you saw
I wouldn't even say he gave it to you.
No, he didn't. No, he
awoke
taught
in
me.
you.
That's right, but he taught me something extremely valuable. And I had a lot of people after that happened. So the situation that you're talking about yesterday, let's just say I was that person 3 months ago, right? And fair enough. And I had a lot of people coming up to me and say, "Oh, poor you, poor you, are you all right? Oh, that's harsh." And a normal person wouldn't, the next day wouldn't turn up.
That's why.
And what did you do?
I was there and I still contributed. And then I booked my flight and ticket to mega success because that was all right. I could take that. I've got thick skin, and maybe that's because of where I've come from or what I've learned. But then I got to see a different side of JT. He's done a lot of good for other people. Do you know what I mean? I saw that compassionate side. I saw that good side of him, the coaching and everything. He even put me in the front row. All access ticket.
You were right there.
And because I told him online, I messaged him. I said, look, I'm going to get the ticket. I'm going to get the best one. I want to be there.
Yeah.
And I did.
Followed through.
And he put me, bang, right on the front row.
I'll ask you this. If you got a coach, do you reckon they're coming and saying, I'm going to lose this client? So, Chris, I'm going to tell me about your business. Tell me your numbers, right?
Yeah.
Which is what he did yesterday.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, and what about this? And what about that? And like people are like, oh, what an ass, right? But the reality is we just need to be real to the other person on the other side. And when you do that, what that means is you're not going to hear what you want to hear. And that's it. He's not coming to lose a client, firstly, for himself, if everyone wants to go down the money path. Secondly, he wants to get success out of that person. And what happened, like yesterday, someone presented and they clapped at the end. Oh, he did well. No, he didn't do well.
Didn't.
And I was sitting there going the same thing. What did it, like, all right, good, you're going to have a crack, but it's not the crack. And as long as we clap that, we enable it. And that's what happens. And that's why society is where it is, because men or women or society or we just clap substandard. My thing is gold medal or nothing. Go harder and a gold medal for you. Be selfish and be selfless, because it will automatically flow onto your family as the example, your work that you've got passion about, into your suits, your business, your wife, and everybody around you. But people just aren't
But-
oh no, he's being nasty.
No,
But it's not nasty. It's being real.
Yeah.
100%.
It's real. He's trying to help you, and that's why he's going to tell you the things that nobody else will, because that's going to spawn the best out of you. Because if you don't know your numbers, how can you get better?
Yeah.
That's why you ended up in the room. Yeah, we all ended up in the room.
Now, at times it's coming to end. I would just want to ask you one thing to the both of you, gentlemen. So, obviously, like you and I worked together, and like you went through the feeling of wearing, something that represented you at a massive event, like 2,000 people in the room, right?
Yep.
So. One thing I wanted to ask you too, and you and I will be working together. It's like I work with you and I will work with you.
Absolutely.
How important it is, and you had your, like an experience. How important is it to present yourself at your best when going to a business event or something where people need to see you for the real person that you are?
Well, the first thing I want to say while we're getting there is thank you, Bruno. You made an amazing suit. And for anybody listening, this man is not only a kind and gentle man, he does an amazing job. If you haven't got a suit from him yet, you have to get one.
It will.
We customised my suit.
I haven't yet.
And like you said before, I felt powerful.
Yeah.
But I felt like I belonged in that room. All right. Now, I'm a boy from Mount Druitt. You know yourself, we grow up, it's a bit of a harsh reality. Struggling to, you struggle as you, now I've made something of myself, like you have as well. And I felt, I'm in this room I had lunch with a billionaire.
Take SJ to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Literally.
Take your
and
TNs.
it's a term that they use in the area as a young SJ.
Yeah.
But I had lunch with a billionaire. A boy from Mount Druitt having lunch with a billionaire, you go figure.
And we're not meant to do that.
And this is because you felt.
And you know what? I felt like I belonged there. The first day I was a little bit out of my comfort zone. But after that, every day putting on a suit, I was in my stride. And I think it's extremely important.
And then lunch with a billionaire.
Yeah, and then lunch with two billionaires.
Wow.
Crazy.
So I think it's extremely important.
How about yourself? Like, because obviously you present well. Why you do it, and how important is to present yourself at that?
If I'm a high performance coach talking about leadership, and we're talking about performing at your best, gold medal or nothing, gold standard, then I should rock up and represent that, and not because I need to. Some of the times, all of the time. So as you said, whether it's just being a good person or being yourself, that's a gold standard as well. People, for some reason, we all put on a mask. Whether we put on a suit, we go into conferences or into a workplace, we shift and change our behaviours versus, the Christmas barbecue. We're two totally different people. But if you're the genuine, authentic version of yourself, it won't matter what suit you've got on, it won't matter what you're wearing. In the end, you'll always just be you. I've got a saying, you ain't anybody until you're you. And that means that you're just yourself, the strongest version, because you've worked on yourself. And that reflects out to the world. What a beautiful world it would be.
Wow. Amazing, guys. You've been absolutely incredible. I want for more people to know about you. So if anybody looking for you, Chris, where will they find you?
Yeah, look, they can find us on Instagram for windows and doors under CVD Glass. Otherwise, you can find me at Chris Van Dijk Official.
Awesome.
We post everything on there.
Jeffrey, where will they find you?
At the Jeffrey Morgan on Instagram, on all social media platforms, and jeffreymorgan.com.au, JEFFREY. See you there.
Morgan. Awesome. Thank you again, guys. Thank you so much for being absolutely incredible.
Thanks,
Legend.